Hey guys, happy Tuesday. See, make sure we got sound good here. Okay, good. Everything looks good. So, get this turned off. We don't want to hear the music again tonight. So, hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I spent mine up in Boston, actually Rockport, Massachusetts. Hey Ryan, how you doing? Looks like you're making good progress on the truck. That was a good picture there showing all the bracing and stuff you had to move around. People think that just because it's OEM sheet metal, everything fits perfect, but not so much. Yeah, so got back home very early Monday morning, so it wasn't in the shop all week, but did get a bunch of stuff done. Got the shifter rebuilt for the Cup car, got the transmission tore apart for the Cup car, and thought I was going to put it back together, but when I got it apart, there's a couple more pieces that are going that it still requires. Yeah, Ryan, I know what you mean. Kim and Dave Chevelle was another one that felt like it was going on forever, and it's coming back. I mean, it's just out getting body work done, and finish up on the body, and then upholstery, and then it'll come back for the final. But yeah, sometimes these projects they seem to keep going on. See, Chris is in. Hey, Chris, how you doing? So, everybody that's been following the live show, Chris has actually been driving his Nova around, waiting for the new accessory drive kit, but able to drive and enjoy it a little bit and kind of thrash it around a little bit, and did some preliminary testing on the fuel cell, and seems like thumbs up. We got it nailed pretty good. He said they had no starvation issues or anything like that, although we do have a little minor fuel level repair to do. One of the things I missed was that the sending unit is actually inside the fuel, the little fuel collection tank. So of course the fuel collection tank stays full, so his gas gauge shows plenty of gas all the time. So we're going to have to make a small modification in the future for that. But good thing about a fuel cell, you take the lid off, you can look down in there, see how much fuel you have, or you can stick it, and with the engine off, the fuel collection tank and the level of the regular tank should be pretty close to the same. So still can test it, just we got to do a mod so that the gas gauge works properly. Yeah, we learn. You're right, Chris. And unfortunately, when I fix the Cup car, it's not going to make a difference because the Cup car doesn't have a gauge in it. So, but at least the fuel tank or the fuel collection tank, that theory worked. So I'll do the same thing with the Cup car, and we should be in good shape there. And then today, of course, you know me, I'm so good with getting pictures of everything. But I had my buddy Mike's 66 Chevelle in the shop, the one I built the 413 engine for a couple years ago. He's got the car 99% assembled, and we just did some final work on tailpipes, and his son's doing all the welding, so I just tacked everything up so we could get it all in shape, and then his son will take all the stuff and finish welding it. But yeah, we had it in the shop all day today, and of course I didn't get any pictures of it at all. After he backed out and took off down the street, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't get any pictures. But we'll get some in the future. I'm sure I'm going to see the car again in the next week or two. We got to do some. We're to the point now where we can start doing some drivability tests. So he already mentioned that the shift. The 1-2 shift is a little high, so I made some adjustments, but it's probably going to take us doing some road testing to actually get it 100% correct. But yeah, like I was saying, I took the I took the Tex Racing T101A transmission apart, and I should have known better. When the dog ring was worn, I should have known that the mating piece of the faceplate would be messed up too. I looked at it 2 or 3 times when it was in the transmission. It looked fine, but yeah, I got it apart and it's beat up pretty good. So I'm going to get one of those. I want to get a couple seals for it because I noticed after the transmission had been moved around the shop a little bit, the shifter shaft seals were weeping a little bit. So might as well put seals in now since it's apart. And one of the parts I couldn't see was the reverser gears, because that's inside the tail house, and that gear's pretty beat up too. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw a reverser in there also. But I wanted to go to an autocross this weekend, but now that the transmission needs more parts, it's not going to happen. So I don't think we'll be able to see any track events for the rest of this year. I'll have to look on motorreg.com. I think I've shown that before in the previous shows. It's kind of sponsored by Haggerty's Insurance, and they show all you can search events in your area or events nationwide by autocross or track or drag strip or whatever, and it kind of shows you what's up in your area. So I'll take a peek on there and see if we can find any new any more classes or any more events that are going on that might be able to run the car to once I get the transmission back in it and the fuel cell fixed. So I was going to try to thrash those 2 things in, but decided, maybe not. Get that stuff straightened out, get the car right. So only had 2 days in the shop this week before the show, so we don't have a lot that we can go on, but I'm going to go ahead and show some of the little snippets of the shifter replacement. Maybe we can talk about that. It's something I've never done before. It's not super complicated, but it was pretty cool how the 4-speed works. I've seen them, and I've actually sent them out before over the years, sent the shifters back to Hurst to have them rebuilt, and now that I've done one, I do it myself from now on. But yeah, so that was pretty good stuff there. As I said last week, Joe's Camaro, 69 Camaro is back in the shop, so I got the motor mounts swapped out yesterday, finished it up this morning. That was a little took a little time to get done with the because on that one I ran the wiring harness out through the tunnel above the bell housing. You really can't pick the motor up much because the wiring will be pinched in between the firewall and the tunnel, or the tunnel and the engine transmission case. So I had to take the motor mounts and the frame mounts all out as an assembly, which was a little tricky. Some of the bolts you had to use a double offset wrench, and you can only get one flat turn at a time. And of course, all the bolts were full length, so that took a lot of extra time. And then when I put them back together, I trimmed all the hardware up to proper lengths. So it went back together a lot faster and it came apart, but it was quite a bit to get it apart. I had to pull the headers out and, spark plugs, headers, wires, coils. One of the valve covers had to come off. So it took a little bit of effort, but I got it in. Reason I put new motor mounts in, the Hurst or Hooker engine swap mount kit came with polyurethane, and with the LS3 525 horse engine, that motor's got a bit of a cam in it, and was a little rough when it was idling. A lot of vibration coming through the engine to the frame, so we went ahead and put rubber mounts in to kind of dampen that a little better. Joe was his intentions were either do that or put a smaller cam in. I'm like, no way, I'll put rubber mounts in. I don't want to put a smaller cam in. Chris says, when you go see Justin tomorrow, I take the balancer if he has it off. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll ask him if he has the balancer. If you get the balancer though, then you're not going to be able to run the car. Did you already take the car up to him, Chris? Oh, you want your balancer back. Gotcha. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. Right. So, like I said, Chris got a chance to drive his car around, and now he took it back up to Pros tuning. My buddy Justin and Sean up there. They're putting a Wegner drive kit on the front of it so that he can eliminate the blower belt slip that it currently has now, so he can get all the boost. That's what we want, all the boost. But yeah, I see. Yes. So yeah, so I'll ask him if he's got that off. I'm not sure if they were going to get working on it right away. You would probably know more, but I will ask him when I go up there tomorrow and see him. Yeah, so I have to go up to DNR tomorrow and do an alignment for them. Those guys, they got a Chevelle. I'm pretty sure it's got 26s on it. Most of the cars they work on have donks or have the big wheels on them. So I got to do a wheel alignment and bring them up a Holly system that they purchased. So when I go see them, Chris, I'll see what you got. I want all the parts back in. Oh, I don't remember that, but okay. Did that balancer have degrees on it, or was it just a stock balancer? I don't remember. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now. Still trying to locate some roll bar tubing for the Vet Hawk. I just can't. I'm having a hard time spending $800 for DOM tubing. I just can't fathom that metal tubing prices has gone up so high. So I'm gonna do one more week of hunting and see if I can find a better deal. I mean, I can remember back in the day I wouldn't pay that much for chrome ollie, let alone DOM. But I want to get moving back on that, and we're since the shop is getting cleaned up a little bit, the Chevelle is out and stuff, and get Joe's out by the weekend, I hope. We're going to probably not this weekend, but maybe next weekend go ahead and do the insulation in the rest of the building and get my AC vent ducts ran. Try to get some building maintenance done over this winter time, even though in Florida it's not really winter time. But we are getting, right now we are in the mid 60s in the morning and low 70s during the day. So it's pretty beautiful weather out for right now. Way better than it was in Rockport for Thanksgiving. Rockport was in the mid 30s in the morning, and for the low, and 4 o'clock in the afternoon it might have got up into the 50s. So we didn't do a whole lot up there this time. Usually we do a lot of walking and go downtown and see all the sights there is to see up in that little town, but this time we stayed bundled up in the house. And then on Thanksgiving Day was actually a really bad wind and rainstorm that went through for most of the day. So we kind of hunkered down and ate, filled our bellies, and played some games with the family and stuff like that. But let's let me go ahead and we'll run through these videos. Now these videos I've done are not it's the innovators. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'll take that. We'll do something with that thing for sure. I can use that. Maybe I can put that on the Vet Hawk. I'll have to see what we got going on there. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. So these videos on the clips that I have for the Hurst shifter have not been edited, but just kind of what we're going to use, the raw footage for the for the channel. I'm going to do a video for that on the shifter rebuild, a video on the trans rebuild. I did not, for you guys that are subscribers and have rung the bell for instant notification, I have not uploaded any Holly tuning files I was going to do over the holiday weekend. Even though we were in the house for the most part, it was wasn't a whole lot of spare time. We just had a lot of fun time spending with the family. Mike says, what part of Mass? My wife is from Peabody. Yeah, we go right through Peabody on our way to Rockport. So yeah, right on 128, you can see the exits for Peabody. So yeah, North Shore, way up on the tip. I think that whole area is Cape Ann, Gloucester, Rockport, Salem, all that stuff is up in that way. So yeah, but I see the signs on the highway for Peabody, so I know we go kind of through that area. So real close. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so let me cue one of these up here. All right, let's we'll cue this up and see how this looks. Okay, so the Hurst shifter is blown apart, and we're going to rebuild it. So the kit came in. It comes with a complete instruction manual, everything you need to do. Now I took this one apart without the manual, so I kind of did it on my own. So let's go ahead and look over the pictures there. So the shifter was jammed up, and I wanted to make sure it was fresh. So we took it apart. Also, in that section there, I was doing talking, but actually was going to show the pictures I showed you guys last week. So let's go to the next video here. Okay, so with the new shifter rebuild kit, we get these new shims. As you can see, this one was completely broken, and this one has wear on it. So there's two new ones for that. And then this is the spring plate to keep everything tight, and this is the new one. And you can see that this one has much more spring load in it to keep the shifter tighter. They give you two in case your shifter has a wide body on it. They give you a new sleeve for the pivot. Give you a dust shield, which this unit didn't have one in it originally. And how the shifter works is your shift handle goes in like that, and it operates this plunger. So in the kit they give you a new plunger, and what this does is it grabs each piece as they're stacked. Wherever that plunger fits, that's where it moves, the shifter moves that unit. So we're gonna go ahead and wash all this stuff up. We're gonna replace this plunger and put new plates and everything in it and make this thing completely renew. So all right, so after we washed all the parts up, on this gear lever here, we found a couple little burrs on there. So we're going to take care of the burrs with a file, and then we'll be ready to put it back together. So after we get it all cleaned up, we found some burrs on here, and we want to get it all cleaned up with a file. Yeah, so like I said, these are unedited, so all right, so we'll go to the next one. So after filing some, we're able to remove these two burrs here. Now this part is ready to go back together. The other ones, the burrs were pretty good, so we don't really have any other action to do except for start greasing all these parts and reassembling them.
Okay, so we've reassembled the plunger for the selector shaft. Now, one thing it's different on this shifter than a normal 4-speed shifter, a normal Hurst competition 4-speed shifter, is this does not have a reverse plunger in it because this is made for a dog box transmission. So these two are 3 parts. These 2 springs in this guide will not be used in this assembly. Next, we're going to
Like I said, unedited. I gotta look at the instructions. I had to make sure which way the assembly went together. There we go.
2 forks go between these 2 roll pins like that, and it gets a spring washer on this side and here, a carriage bolt that goes through, a lock plate with a nylon spacer here.
I'm gonna fast forward this.
And the spacer like that. Now,
I forgot to grease it, so.
All right, so final assembly, we're going to use the grease that comes with the package. A little dab under here. Again, put our spring washer in. A little dab of grease on that. Dab of grease on this side. A little dab of grease. Our support plate. And a retaining nut. Take a 7/16 ratchet and lock it down. You want to make sure that this bracket goes through those 2 roll pins so it pulls the selector back and forth like that. To reassemble the assembly, the shifter, we're going to put some grease on this mating surface here. We're going to put the reverse plate, has a notch here that goes down first. Take our reverse lever, put a little grease on that. Take our 1-2 shim. A 1-2 fork. Apply some grease to this.
Yeah. Check the instructions.
Take our 3/4 lever. Again, apply grease. we're going to take our wave plate, and now we're ready to install it into the housing. So after we get the assembly done, we put our stop nut bolts in there, put our alignment pin, and this one's done. Now, just a couple notes here.
Well, I just realized I didn't get the video of sliding all the components into the housing. So I'm going to have to fix that. So thanks, guys, for watching this. Help me make sure I get all the stuff edited correctly.
If this was a regular streetcar shifter, this spring would not be in there, and you would put this cover plate in there. That would keep trash from getting in there. Also, you can notice that these rods are set up for 3/8 rod end bolts, whereas a standard shifter would have the larger hole for the bushing. So whenever you rebuild your transmission, also get a pit pack of either the bronze bushings or the nylon bushings, like the factory ones, just to get all your alignment of all your linkage correct. So now, with this thing assembled, we're ready to bolt it onto the transmission and make it work. And for everybody that's wondering what that spring is for, with this shifter, the spring keeps it in the 3/4 section. You actually have to go fight the spring to get it to go into the next position. That's just because it's for a dog box style transmission. And that's it. How to rebuild your Hurst shifter. So everything I did in this video is also in this detailed instruction sheet from Hurst. So if you missed anything during this procedure, when you buy your installation rebuild kit, you will get this instruction book, or you can go to holly.com, go to brands Hurst, and then look up part number 3327303, which is the shifter rebuild kit, and there's a link at the bottom of that page to download these instructions if you want to see them before you purchase the kit.
So that was the transmission rebuild job. Seemed like it came out pretty good. I just realized now that I didn't show putting the sliding the unit inside the sliding the shift linkage into the container, and I just thought about it, and that's the battery went dead on the camera, and I must not have caught it, so that last section of footage didn't get filmed. So pretty easy to do, and it was worked out real good, so I'm happy with that. The shifter was in good shape after I got all done with it, and saved a couple $100 by not having to buy one, so that worked out real well. So overall, the transmission purchase for the Cup car still worked out pretty good, but we did have some issues with the with components, extra components that I didn't realize were going to be bad inside there. I guess if you wanted, I could show you the unedited stuff on the transmission. I didn't put it back together yet because I didn't get all the parts, but I got the tear down assembly on it. I don't know if you guys cared to see any of that, but just getting all these parts back organized so we can get that all back in the Cup car is going to be really good. Much better shifter and transmission unit than the piece that I have in there now, the Sagnol 4-speed. So Let me see if I can find the pictures of the bad parts in there. So actually it's only about 10-15 minutes long, so let's go ahead and, if you guys don't mind, we'll go ahead and play this. Again, this is unedited film for a future transmission rebuild that I'm going to show on the channel. So you guys kind of, that's one of the things about the Tuesday night shows. You guys sometimes get to see stuff that either doesn't get shown on the regular channel, or you guys get to see it before anybody else does, even though it is in its raw form and unedited. But without any further ado, here is the teardown of the 4-speed. Oh, you know what? I missed the first section. Let me go back to the very first picture. Here we go.
All right, so we have our Tex Racing T101A dog box transmission here. We have to replace the 3/4 dog ring. So we're going to tear this thing apart and go through it. Make sure everything else is good, and then have it ready to go in the cup car. So
good thing about doing all this teardown, I did find some thread inserts that need to be repaired, so we'll get all that done all at the same time. That needs to be edited. There we go.
there's the shift operation. Your shifter rods go here, and they control these. Now, there's detent balls in here, so that only one of these can move at a time from the neutral position. You'll see in here, there's a ball bearing, and there's little detents right there. So each one is going to do its own thing. You have to want to make sure that those are all good, that it can't shift both at the same time, because that'll cause the transmission to go into 2 gears at once. That's no good.
That's one of the thread holes that is messed up. The helicoil is half unwound on that thing.
There's the front cover. You may have noticed it was bolts with long stacks of washers on there. That's to give the throwout bearing clearance to make it proper. We want to take all these bearings and check them, make sure there's no cracks in the housings. Everybody's smooth in there. No growling or any kind of growl noise coming out of them. So at this point, there's a small bolt there. We're going to take that out, 5/16 head, and that is a shaft that lines up the reverser shaft to keep it in line. If you don't remove that, it'll slide out with the case, and you'll lose all the positioning of all the pieces in there. There's another one here for the reverse lever. With this bolt out, we can pop this shifter lever off, up, and that'll release the reverse fork. Now with that, up, the fork is disconnected from the reverser gear. Now we'll take the outside bolts off and take the rear tail shaft off.
Oops. So the reverser, one thing I didn't think about, I lifted the shifter linkage up to pull the fork off of the gear, but gravity was pointing down, so it just slid out and stayed connected. That's why it's still hooked up to the reverse gear and pulled it out. I didn't think about that when I took it apart.
This is the reverser gear. There is no synchro here. It's just gear to gear on the teeth. So this long bolt is what went through this to keep this all lined up. Make sure we keep all the nuts and bolts with all the washers with all the components. And that's the reverse gear for the cluster shaft. Now there's two hidden bolts down here to take the mid plate out.
That one wasn't too bad. The next snap ring was really locked in there. This one fought for a while. That one was in there hard.
All right, so there's 2 snap rings here on the main mid bearing. Got to get that out of the way. Now this rear mid plate can come off. Got to break the silicone loose. Now the plate will slide off the 2 main shafts. Again, you want to inspect your bearings, see if they feel like they have any drag or any pitting, roughness. These feel good. You want to keep your spacers in the same orientation. Center plate. Take these 2 bolts out up here. Hard to see them. Those 2 bolts up there. That is for a center support for the main shaft. Now, with the center support loose, we can take this output shaft out of the case. This is the center support piece that was in the middle of the transmission. And there's our different gears. Here's our dog ring that has been damaged. You can see there. These have been rounded off pretty heavily. So this dog piece, this dog ring needs to be replaced. However, I was told by G-Force if you're going to use it in drag racing, you could put this on the opposite side and it'd be DXL on 3rd gear, and you could use it as long as you didn't downshift 3rd gear, but you could reuse it because the other side is still good. And for comparison, there you can see this one is rounded, that one is square. That's square, and that one's rounded. That's the damaged piece. We take our input. Oh, it's fucked up too. Fucking A.
Oops.
So this piece is also damaged on the 4th gear. So this is going to need to be replaced also. At this point, we can take our cluster shaft there's the cluster shaft with the front piece, and again the other bearing. So again, you want to feel your bearings, make sure they're good, and that's basically the whole unit. And we'll replace those two pieces and put it back together. And we'll replace those two pieces.
So one of the things I wanted to show you guys, it's pretty cool, but with these racing transmissions, you can see on this cluster shaft that this gear is made on the shaft permanent, but then the rest of the shaft is splined. So second, the gears that ride on the input, which is for fourth, third, second, and first gear, you can replace all these gears independently. So you can change the gear ratio on first, second, and third to whatever ratios you want to put together. You just have to change the gear on the cluster shaft and then the appropriate drive gear on the main shaft, the output shaft. So that's a pretty cool thing about these transmissions. And if we go back, this is another piece here that you wouldn't have on a standard transmission. So you have your input shaft that goes out here, and it rides on this needle bearing that I took off, and then it has a bearing out here. So when you're in second and third gear, these drive gears try to walk away from the cluster shaft, and that's what makes the transmissions eat up gears inside. Have you ever broken a transmission second gear or third gear or even a fourth gear? The reason being is that the input shaft only rides on a needle bearing here, and in the pilot of the back of the crankshaft, that's the only support it has. So in this racing unit, they've got another bearing support that goes to the case in the middle. So that really makes the mesh of the drive gear and the driven gear, which is the cluster shaft, they cannot separate from each other. So it keeps the transmission gears, makes everything much stronger, beefier. And the other thing you can notice is everything in this transmission is all micro-knighted, so it all looks like it's polished or chromed. It's actually just a process that they do to basically a vibrating machine with a media in it, and it polishes all the high and low spots or high spots and stress risers out of the components. So very smooth, everything's really polished up nice and clean, and really makes the transmission handle a lot. So this transmission started out its original design as a go ahead and switch screens here. That transmission actually started out as a Borg Warner T10, Super T10. That's what all these components were originally designed off of. What they did in these, whether it's a G-Force transmission or a Tex Racing, is they took the Super T10 and recasted the housing to be thicker and stronger, and then redid all the gears and put the support bearing and all the changes they made, and then they had a synchronizing box, and then later on they came out with these dog boxes. And so this dog box transmission, where a normal Borg Warner Super T10 is good for about 500, maybe 600 horsepower max, this transmission is good for over 1,000. And reason being is that all of the components, the way they're, the shafts are made out of better quality material. All the gears are micro-knighted. They got the extra support bearings. On a standard production transmission, the cluster shaft is usually a 1-inch pin that goes from front to back of the case, and then there's a bunch of needle bearings, and then the cluster shaft rides on top of that. And of course, all the gears are forged on one common cluster shaft, so you can't change independent gears. When you break the transmission, you can't replace one of the cluster shafts. You have to replace the whole entire cluster shaft. So much better designs the way they did this. You notice in the video the case is machined for O-rings, so a lot of it's O-ring, although the guy that took this transmission apart the last time must have used 2 complete tubes of silicone. It was crazy how much I had to scrape off this thing. But still, all in all, I got a good buy on this transmission. Used Hurst shifters for these transmissions usually go for about $500, up to $500. I've seen these transmissions priced anywhere. Actually, this one was the lowest I'd seen priced at $1,250. But I've seen them as high as $6,000-7,000. So I think they're like $8,200 brand new. Most of them you see are for sale for around the $35,000 to $4,000 price range. That's pretty much where most of them are. Now the replacement components that I'm replacing this, they're not cheap either. So I mean, I'm gonna have probably close to $1,000 in replacement parts to put everything back together and get it all back together in good condition. But all in all, it's the transmission that belongs in the car for the kind of use that for road racing. So it's it's the right deal, and I got a good deal on it. And with rebuilding it like this, now we know exactly what's inside the transmission. Like I said, I found a couple. All the bolt holes or threaded holes in the case are have thread inserts from Tex Racing when they build these units. They don't run the bolts into aluminum. They go ahead and put thread inserts in and bolt it together that way. So, but there are a couple that have been abused and they're going to need to be replaced. So now I can go through and fix all that, eliminate all the over siliconing of everything. I've got O-ring material. I'll make all new O-rings for it, and we'll replace all the seals and everything. And it's going to be a brand new transmission when I'm done. Everything else, the 1-2 sync dog ring and face plates all look in very good condition, so I have no problems there. I will end up replacing the reverser gear, the little guy that was on the shaft with the long bolt going through. It's a little beat up. It's reverse. There's no synchro in reverse, so obviously if you're rushing to get in reverse and you don't go into a drive gear first to stop the transmission from spinning, you'll get some grinding and clunking going in and out of reverse. But I'm going to go ahead and replace them. That way it's all back to new, just back together and back like new. So that was a unfortunate discovery when I took it apart, that we found the faceplate for the input shaft bad. Unfortunately, apologize for the language, because I was really planning on going to an autocross event this weekend with the car, and now it's not going to happen because I had to order more parts and they won't be in. I might have them by Friday, but there's no way to get the car back together and in the proper time and have everything race prepped like I normally like to have it. So we'll just wait for the next event, get this done, and still waiting on the road race rear end housing yet anyway. So that that'll give some more time to get that piece in, and we'll just keep working on it. I did get vinyl for the car now, so I can go ahead and repair the number 7s on the roof and the sides of the car. And I've got a couple of the stickers for the front fenders, the contingency stickers and stuff that were kind of sun faded. I've got some of those replaced, and then once I put all that on, I'll take inventory on the rest of the stickers that are on the car and see which ones, as you keep putting new stickers on, the old stickers next to it that didn't look so bad will look really bad once the new one's next to it. So just slowly take our time and go through what needs to be changed out and what doesn't need to be changed out, but making forward progress on that. And like I said, I'll have Joe's car wrapped up now that the motor mounts are in. I just got some small little, I got to change the oil, clean up the tune a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and update his ECU to the newest firmware. that might take care of a couple bugs that he's noticed. And I got to put e-brake cables in, but other than that, that car's going to be wrapped up. And we move on to hopefully in the next week or so getting Bert's Gremlin in here so I can get that 6-cylinder turbo motor installed finally. And see what happens with all that. See, Chris says, recently discovered auto blip and flat shifting. Do you know if Holly offers it? I'd sure like it. So, yeah, well, you have a stock ECU in your car, Chris. So I don't know if that's something you'd have to talk to Justin about that. I don't know if that could be added into your ECU. I'm not sure what ECU version you have in your car. I'm not really familiar with all the ins and outs of the GM units. Holly doesn't have, it doesn't have it per se. So if you have like a, depending on how many inputs and outputs you're using, so the Terminator X Max or X, Terminator X, X Max, HP, those computers only have 4 inputs and 4 outputs. So if you're using outputs for engine cooling and stuff like that, you probably might not have enough extra inputs and outputs to do some programmable tables. But in the Holly Dominator, there's 40 inputs, 40 outputs, so more than likely you'll never run out. And there you probably could build in some type of ignition cut so that you could do a flat shift. That's the beauty of these dog box transmissions. With these dog box transmissions, you don't have to have an auto blip or any of that. You just have to, you can just basically twitch the gas pedal and shift the car at the same time, and it shifts into gear. You don't have to use a clutch at all on it, except for take off, start and stop. Downshifting, you need to make sure you match the revs. Now you could, with the Dominator or with any of those units, with the Holly units, you could put a, you'd have to put a strain gauge, I guess. You'd have to wire it up with a strain gauge on the shifter handle so that when the shifter handle is moving, you could put a ignition interrupter in. So that would probably allow you to do that. I think you'd really want to, if you don't have a dog box, I think first of all you'd really want to look into like just lost it. There's a company in sequentials. There's a company in Australia that makes sequential shifter kits for just about every transmission known. They make them for this Tex Racing G-Force 101 models. They make them for the TR6060s, T56, TKOs, TKX. Pretty much any transmission out there that's popular, they make a sequential shift module that is set up for that. So you remove your shifter pod and you put the sequential unit in, and that allows you to just pull the lever back for upshifts and forward for downshifts. And then, of course, it goes sequentially. So every time you pull it, it's another gear. That would probably be the best way to do a ignition cut, because now you're not using the, I would be concerned if you were doing a cut and you're going from second to third and you got an H pattern to go through. It'd be a long time to have the engine cut. So, there's probably some workarounds around that, but yeah, it sure would be nice. I'd love to put one of those sequential units on this transmission, because not talking about a good time. Just keep pulling the stick and shifting up the gears. That'd be really cool. Unfortunately, they're not cheap. I think the unit for this transmission, I think, is $2,700 or something like that. But it sure is pretty cool. Maybe I hit the lotto one day. Maybe I'll try putting one in. That'd be pretty cool. But for right now, we'll stay with the old standard H pattern. And like I said, with this unit, I could do a strain gauge because I've got a Terminator X in this car. So I mean, I could probably do some type of engine cut. But actually, it wouldn't be that hard because you could do a secondary rev limiter and set. So if you shift the car to 6,200, you could set that auxiliary rev limiter, say 5,500, and with the strain gauge, when you pull the shifter, it would turn that rev limiter on and drop the engine RPM enough to, while you're pulling the gear, it would cut it for a split second, and then that would allow you to make the shift. With that, you probably could do flat out wide open shifts. I may play with that. I don't know. Depends on how much track time I actually going to see on the car. Probably being that it's going to turn out to be a road race car. I'll probably do a couple events with it, but I'm probably going to end up putting the car for sale and flipping it just because, one, I put a lot more money into it than I had originally planned, especially for the amount of track time I'm going to have time to actually use the car. That wasn't what I was originally intending to do. So with the minimal amount of track time, maybe two, 3 events a year, it's a lot of money to have sitting around when I could be using that money to assist the Vet Hawk, which would be a street car, so I could do a lot more stuff with that. I can do all kind of things with the Vet Hawk. It's going to be much more of a multi-purpose car than doing just a track-only road race car. Chris knows, anybody else that does track days and stuff, that's a pretty pricey avenue. Typical track days or entries are $300 to $500. You're going to probably put a pretty good hurting on a set of tires, brakes, a lot of things there for somebody like me that's not actually trying to race a series. Now, if I didn't have the Vet Hawk project going on, and that's actually the car that I want when I'm finished, I'm actually building something that I want rather than just assembling a car. And then I could do the HSR series with IMSA. That would probably be a pretty cool deal to use the Cup car. I could see the expenses then at that point, but that's not really what I'm looking to do. So it's, to me, it'd be better to get the car sorted. That's what I'm real good at, sorting cars, getting them dialed in so that there's no issues with it, and then passing it on to somebody that's actually going to use it for its intention, and they can go out and have a blast with it, and they'll know they have a car that, for the most part, is already all dialed in. All they got to do is race it and not break it, and they can have a great time with the car. So that's kind of what my mindset is with what we're going to do with that thing. So we'll see. As I say, stay tuned. But so that was obviously there's no assembly video. That's not done yet, and all that was raw footage. There's a lot of editing I need to do to clean all that stuff up, and but I didn't have a really good tech thing for tonight since I was only in town for 2 days. So Mike's car ended up taking us a lot longer today than I thought it. When he actually backed it out of the shop, it was already 5:30, and I'm like, wow, I got zero prepared for tonight. So at least we got to, you guys got to see the inner workings of a race 4-speed transmission. Hopefully that was something that was cool. It's something not a lot of people have ever been into. And I'll admit, that was the first time I've taken one of those apart. I've done tons of Muncie's and T10s and OEM style shifter transmissions. So I knew the components and how they worked and everything. But as far as the exact disassembly procedure, there was a couple of times I had to think about it or look around before I made a move to make sure all the components were right. But it's one of those things that, over the years you just learn, myself anyway. I know that all the transmissions, no matter whether it's a race unit or a street unit, there's always shims involved. So you always got to denote the shims where they go and how many there were, so that when you go back, your end plays are proper, so that everything works properly. You don't want anything bound up. Being this one, all the bearings were good. This one will be able to go right back together with everything it had. I'll check the end plays, but more than likely they're going to be spot on, because the transmission felt really good when I was running it through the gears manually. Just in counting the teeth, making getting the ratios figured out and all that stuff. So it should be real good. I should have the parts in early next week and get that back together. And like I said, we'll go on to Motor Reg and see if there's any other events. Maybe there is an autocross group on the West Coast that weren't able to autocross for a month or two because they were using the airstrip where they do the autocross. They were using it for a staging area for all the debris from the West Coast from the hurricanes. So I think they have it cleaned up, because I think they had an event last weekend. So maybe they might have one more before the end of the year, but we'll check on that. I don't have any Landis stickers. I am going to get some more cut. I had some that were die cut, but I'd like to see if I can get one that's just like a regular sticker. It's one piece. You don't have to worry about if the numbers don't stick and stuff. So I'm gonna work on that. We're still working on the shirts. I mean, I got mine on right now. You can see on the back. We're playing around with the my wife's running them through the washing machine a few times. They are full 100% cotton, so we're kind of concerned about shrinkage. I don't want to sell shirts and then 3 washes later it doesn't fit anymore because it's the wrong size. So I looked up the manufacturer and they claim that they are pre-shrunk, but I do want to make sure before we release them. So the shirts will be available here shortly. And I will, now that I've got the first batch of shirts taken care of, I will work on getting some stickers cut. I know Chris, you're local, so I'll just have my the sign guy do another half a dozen of the. Well, I'll do a dozen of them, and if people want, just hit me up, email me. My emails are on the main page of YouTube. And I think I actually have them in some of the I'll make sure they're in the descriptions of this video. And hit me up for some if you want stickers. They're like 12 inches long, die cut. See, I might have. Well, that's what they did look like before all the letters got rubbed off. This is red, and it's got just the Landis Performance. That was a very early one we did, and I just stuck it on the back of the board to take pictures, and obviously it wasn't clean, and the letters didn't stick after a while. But so I will have some of those, and hopefully we'll have the shirts tested after I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 wash cycles, and see how they're fitting. See how much the shrinkage there, and then we'll go ahead and get those sent out. Remember, you guys, Ryan and Chris, your local, Mike, email me with the shirt size, and I'll make sure I get you some shirts. I know Rick hit me up. He sent me his size, so I'm going to definitely get one out to him. So if you guys, my long time live show guys, I mean, we're on episode 72, and a lot of you guys, I know Ryan, I think, has been almost every show, if not every show. Chris has been on real good. Mike's been to a bunch of them. Rick's been to a bunch of them. So, you guys, my normal crew, I'm going to get you guys shirts. You get your first shirt for free. So, but yeah, so we're working on that stuff, trying to get stuff farther along. Now that we got these main shirts done, now I'll go ahead and start doing some of the shirts with different logo and sayings and stuff on them. I got some firing order shirts similar to what they had on roadkill, but I've changed mine up a little bit. Obviously, first of all, it's not a standard GM numbers. I got the LS numbers on it, a firing order. So, and I got some other designs. So we're going to start working through some of those designs. Try to get. What I'll probably end up doing is getting a bunch of shirts here soon, and I'll get Nick to at least do a test shirt for all the designs. That way we can get them up on the when I get the site set up, and then that way you guys at that point can go through and pick whichever ones you want. And of course, like I said, I'm going to put it in the comments section, not the community section on the main page of the YouTube channel. There's a section there for polls. I'm gonna go ahead and put a poll up for colors of shirts that people want, so we can kind of decide. Right now I'm staying with the blacks, but some other colors would probably be pretty cool. I think ash is a pretty popular color. Maybe a dark blue, and then whatever other colors. We talked about it last week. The whites are kind of out for most of us because being that we have projects and stuff. I know I'm one that I may wear a white shirt to a car show or something, but it seems like it never ends. I have to pull the car out of the trailer, and I forget to put a blanket down, and then you're laying in the trailer and you get something on it, and of course a white shirt shows immediately. So I only have maybe a handful of white shirts that don't have huge stains on them. So the ones that are stained, my wife wants me to throw out. She doesn't want me to wear them anywhere, and I get it. But so all right, so that's pretty much what I had for tonight. We'll get some stuff set up for next week. Obviously, I don't think we're going to be traveling in the next 4 or 5 weeks, so should be available. Get all this stuff taken care of, and we'll go from there. So hope everybody has a good week, and see everybody next Tuesday. Let's see try to get this switched around here. There we go. And I guess we'll see everybody next week. Hit me up for some stickers and stuff, and we'll go from there. Everybody have a good week. I'll talk to you all later. See ya.